There we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We're going to get to the JRC here in a moment, but before we do, the disclaimers and the trigger warnings. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, pertinent links will be there in the description box for you. Please, in particular, note the link to Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, where we keep all the receipts concerning the Judge Rothberg Educational Center, what they get up to behind closed doors. A link also to Neuroclastics article. They are a small non-for-profit started by Autistics for Autistics. In that article, they surveyed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the Judge Rothberg Educational Center's so-called behavior modification program. It's the same one that they threatened Neuroclastic a defamation lawsuit over if they didn't remove the article from their own website, no less. Very obviously, Neuroclastic refused, so you know the drill. Please go ahead and read the article. Share it on all your social media. As always, we also have Neuroclastic's GoFundMe link up in there for you, just in case the JRC ever does see through with their threats. Because, unfortunately for us, unlike the JRC, we do not have access to unlimited Benjamins. If you could give a little, I know they'd appreciate it. If you can't, please share it. I know they'd appreciate that as well. Trigger warnings when we discuss places like the Judge Rothberg Educational Center, Tobin World, Circle of Hope, Agape Boarding School, Kinnicook Camp, and all the schools like them, whether they are called troubled teen centers or whether they're trying to build themselves as residential school settings for those of us with developmental disabilities. You're going to hear some vivid descriptions of and catch clips or surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled folks being abused and tortured. So, if you got any young children with you, please, I do recommend, sorry, long day, you guys go ahead and use the headphones, alright? Also, we do have on this channel that it is marked not for children. That reason is because we do use profanity and we do speak on some very dark subjects. So if your child's 16 and younger and they are watching this, parental supervision is very much advised. Now, why it's been a long day? Because mid-morning, as per usual within the network of individuals I work with, being an advocate fighting for disability rights and neurodivergent rights, we all got hit today. It's not just Medicaid and Social Security that the current GOP is looking to utterly decimate. They are now also doing something in regards to HUD. I've been hearing rumors, nothing real specific yet, but now they're kind of going into a little bit more detail. Now, I did see some scare tactics from some of the YouTubers that kind of got me a little bit angry. You see, I have a lot of friends that depend on things like Section 8 in order to cover the costs of being in an assisted living program, such as an assisted living apartment. That funding is also used to help in the funding of multiple group homes. So using titles such as Section 8 is dead just to get clicks is going to panic a whole bunch of already extremely vulnerable and scared human beings. I understand the need for clicks and that this is a small channel, but just in case any of you bigger ones out there ever come by this, the way you title videos, in particular when you are talking specifically about programs like this, can cause mass panic in individuals who are already scared. Be a bit more careful in the way that you title videos. We do not need individuals who are already on the edge to get any more frightened than they need to be right now. Every last one of us has more than enough on our plates. Literally, we are getting hit from every single angle right now. Me just having the time to find when I can get research in for each of the series that I do for this channel. And the fact that every time I turn around, they're coming after some other program. A lot of times a program I'm very familiar with, have benefited from in the past, and a lot of my friends still utilize out of necessity. You see where I'm going, right? Take responsibility in the titles that you use when you do these videos. I know we are all fighting for clicks at this point in time, especially when we're up against some of the biggest YouTubers in the world, and everybody's fighting for their space and survival right now. But you gotta realize that these vulnerable individuals are already stressed as can possibly be right now. Let's not make that any worse than what it already is. Good majority are barely holding on as it is. Alright? Sorry, but that just really angered me. And speaking of, yes, we're going to be continuing with the Down the Rabbit Hole series on the anti-vax movement. We're going to be continuing with the Medicaid series, as well as the Social Security series. And yes, after doing much research and making sure I get all my information and facts correct in regards to the changes that are going to be happening within HUD in regards to requirements that are going to be added or taken away in regards to HUD, I'm going to be starting that series as well, okay? Just letting you guys know ahead, that's just, it's driving me nuts. Stop panicking us. Even people like me who are doing relatively well are still pretty scared out of our minds right now, okay? Considering we are literally fighting someone in our federal government who wants to put people like me on a registry for apparently the unforgivable sin of being born autistic. We don't need anything else to come down the pike right now. Just be careful, alright? That's all I ask. All I ask. Alright, so where we left off yesterday, we're going to get into another paragraph where the JRC is going to act like they never received the hearing that they actually did receive, or that somehow, given the same 2 years that we were given to present their side, present their facts, is somehow not fair simply because they can't prove their case. Yeah. It's going to be another one of those. So, let's go ahead and get to it, shall we? Alright. Certain principles have remained relatively immutable in our jurisprudence. My God. Even their wording is utterly egotistical and brain dead all at once. Egotistical, brain dead, complete lacking in empathy or sympathy. You know, I've been told my whole life, at least from age 19 and into my adult years, that I lack empathy. Yet somehow, I still don't come off near as absolutely emotionless, self-centered, and self-righteous as the JRC does. Just saying. Just saying. One of these is that the governmental action seriously injures an individual, and the reasonableness of the action depends on the fact findings. The evidence used to prove the government's case must be disclosed to the individual so that he has an opportunity to show that it is untrue. For the love of God, what the hell have we been doing for over the last decade, JRC? Let's rewind this, shall we? Let's rewind this. 2014 is when the FDA panel was opened in regards to determining whether that GED device should be discontinued and banned or not. 2014. You do realize we are now in 2025. Okay? 2025. The first panel went from 2014 to 2016. That's 2 years. 2 years. At the end of 2016, the FDA panel put forward what was called the GED proposed ban, sending it to all parties, and then once again opening it up for comments and participation. Now, it took a lot of different organizations, from even some of people that most of the neurodivergent rights movement would tell you would be our natural enemies. We're talking Autism Speaks, folks. We had Autism Speaks on the same note with us. Do you know how often that happens? If you ever see ASAN and Autism Speaks agree with and be willing to work together in regards to literally anything, you should know that hell has frozen over, and you should keep an ear out just in case the final trumpet starts blaring. Okay? Because usually both sides are at each other's throats constantly, and it has been that way for decades. Alright? So, starting from 2016, we noticed within a year frame that after the proposed ban went out, comments were opened up, and then we had a whole lot of nothing getting done whatsoever. So you got pushes from Autism Speaks, from the Autism Self-Advocacy Network, People First, March of Dimes, Easter Seals, Judavine Centers for Autism. Even Burrow got their heads in there to pretty much ask what the hell was going on. And then finally, in 2019, the paperwork was finally finalized for what they called the final rule. And that was the end of 2019, by the way. When it was published, the ban was to take place starting the year 2020. Then we had the pandemic. And JRC managed to acquire over $83 million in COVID funding during that time period. By the way, not having anyone from the FDA to enforce the ban because of the excuse of COVID. So, during that time period, started about around April, a lot of us started to come out, especially since we were all quarantined at home. And we utilized that time trying to figure out why the FDA was doing nothing to actually enforce their own final rule. Then in 2021, the JRC hit the DC Circuit of Appeals, and the JRC's usual shady crap went down. It was overturned. So, you realize how long of a time period that everyone had from 2014 to 2021 to get their shit together, their ducks in a row, and approve their case for one side or the other. The JRC is trying to act like that didn't even happen. Everybody's biased. Everybody's lying. Nobody understands. These are the only kids that are like this. It's such a small subpopulation. It's just 55 people. That doesn't prove your case. It makes you sound like similar to a whining teenager just kind of snapping at their parents because they don't get to go out and party till midnight. That pathetic and that annoying. Okay? So let's start with that. You had your hearing, JRC. We had 2 solid years of hearings. When the proposed ban went forward, you had an additional 3 years to respond to the proposed ban. And then, 2019, the final rule was finally out on paper. And the comments were left open. Okay? We have heard all your evidence. Your team has heard all our evidence. You have to date nothing new in regards to evidence to be able to bring forward to prove your case or change anything in regards to the determination that has already been made by the FDA panel. Okay? There is no reason to have a second hearing to painstakingly go over all of the same crap all over again. If you want to re-review what was done during said hearings, there's a large amount of footage that you have access to. Both Google and YouTube is free, JRC. If you feel like you are being treated unfairly and that you were not given the same chance to prove your case that we did to prove ours, you have every ability to pull up YouTube, do the searches, and pull up the testimonies, the reports, and the opinions of the professionals. Nobody needs to re-review the same crap in live time. If you haven't noticed, the world has lost its mind. Nobody, and I mean nobody, has time for that right now. Look around you, JRC. Our world is hanging on by a thread, and quite frankly, it's looking a little bit too close to comfort from the things that led to, the fall of Rome in the Dark Ages. Now, I'm not saying things are quite bad quite yet. I'm saying the early dominoes are falling. And they are falling at a faster and faster alarming rate. If we don't get some form of stability somehow, then let's just put it this way. You stamping your foot like a toddler, demanding this or that, is not going to be catching anybody else's attention. We're all just going to be too busy, trying to survive the fallout. Now, let's address some of this comment here. So, in this little paragraph, what do they say here? But this action will severely injure the individual. Are you aware that your device has already injured numerous people? And no, we're not talking about the little red blotches on the skin that you all admit to. Which, by the way, just waving even that much off is already a red flag. Okay? If I would have came home with a red spot on my arm from any teacher, there wouldn't be much of said teacher left once my mom got a hold of him. Just saying. It wouldn't have been pretty. Oh. Alright. Number 2. Your device knowingly causes second and third degree burns. There is more than enough numerous articles of evidence that proves that point. ER photos, ER documentation, your own school's documentation, and of course, who can forget the validation found from your own video surveillance footage. It is not a question whether or not your device causes harm. It is a well-established fact. We know that your device has done this to previous students. It is very well documented. It is very well photographed. And we have your asses live on camera. Alright? What are we going to do about those injuries? Or does it not matter because I'm a doctor? People used to go to witch doctors too, but if you notice, that tends to not be the sort of medicine that is looked on favorably in the modern world. Right? Andrew Wakefield was a doctor too. You saw what happened to his anti-vax sanity, right? Yeah? You're not special, JRC, for the love of God. Ugh. So what you're saying here But you gotta disclose your evidence to the individual so we can show that it is untrue. We have already done so. Oh my God. You were there at the same hearing as all the rest of us. You saw the video surveillance footage. You saw the ER photos. You were given copies of the ER documentations done by emergency room doctors. You have already been given the chance to view our side's evidence and to try and counter that evidence with your own evidence. The problem is you couldn't counter our evidence. You were given the chance to do so, you know. Multiple occasions. The fact of the matter is, you could not in any real fundamental way contest that what we were saying was wrong. Okay? That's the difference here. You were given every opportunity to review the evidence put forward from our side. You had all the time of the world, you as well as your overpriced lawyers, to review that evidence and to counter it with your own. You could not do so. Just because you failed doesn't mean that now we have to go back and rehash all the same shit again to what? Massage your egos? Again, nobody has time for that. The government is within its rights to act. Congress went back and amended that particular law so that the FDA has full authority to put through and enforce the ban. Okay? These are the facts and rules. There is no need to rehash and go through all the same crap again. You had your chance. You failed. What you do behind closed doors cannot be defended by anyone. Like, we could have St. Augustine from Hippo walk in. He was known as a brilliant orator and semi-lawyer back during the time known as the Dark Ages. Very beginning of the Dark Ages, I might add. Like, not that very many years since Alaric essentially brought Rome to its knees. Right? Famous orator. You could bring him in to argue your point, and it still wouldn't work. Okay? Because your side is indefensible. What you do to the kids behind those closed doors is monstrous. And deep down, every last one of you know it, but you don't care because the money is too good, and you all have some weird, sadistic, sick pleasure in causing us pain and screaming at us that it's for our own good. I don't know what else to tell you. So, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and close out, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel, and the few we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So, folks, if you wouldn't mind, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and as always, folks, please don't forget to get those comments. I absolutely do appreciate your time today, and as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I will see you all a little bit later on, as I do a whole lot of pre-vitting these so I can take the rest of the week to work on the other series. It will probably be a minute before we get a new one of these, but anyways, folks, I appreciate it. Have a great one.